Good day, good day. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. I am Jay, and this is Homeschool Yo Kids podcast. Today we have with us Corrine. Corrine, introduce yourself.
Thank you for having me. Yes, my name is Karin Kucayan. I'm a speech language pathologist in California, working in telepractice, and I'm so excited to be here.
Oh, nice. Okay. So, speech pathologist. I've talked to a few of you. How do we get on this journey?
So I grew up in a multilingual home, and actually I'm a first generation immigrant. And I feel like communication challenges were just part of my part of who I became because of my environment. And so I was always interested in helping bridge the gap. I would translate for my parents. I had cousins who couldn't speak, so I'm bilingual in Armenian. I had cousins that grew up here that didn't speak Armenian, so it was a lot of bridging those gaps. And as I got older, I knew I wanted to be in a helping field, but I first started with majoring in psychology. I think a lot of speech pathologists do that. But that didn't seem quite to be where I was destined to end up. And so I took a course in linguistics and speech sounds disorders and completely fell in love with the field. And it just sort of felt like who I was, who I have been, the path that I've been traveling on.
Nice. Yes. It's funny that you mentioned psychology major. I did an interview with a college ready consultant. Like she helps parents get their kids into college and graduated debt free. And she said that's one of the, how does she word it? That is one of the most unemployable majors.
Interesting.
Like, people major in psychology, but don't understand that you have to further it to actually work in the field. So people graduate with them and they're unemployable because they don't really necessarily have the credentials to work in that field.
I've also heard currently from my own child who is a senior in high school applying to colleges. So we're definitely in that season of life as well, that apparently psychology is highly impacted. So there you go.
Really?
So it seems like it's a stepping stone for other areas. But sorry, go ahead.
No, that's what I was saying. The major itself, psychology.
Yeah.
Because I even considered that when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to major in. And I took AP psychology in 12th grade and I loved him, like my teacher. And I was like, I could do this. But I didn't do it. I just did English.
That's exactly where my daughter is at. She's in AP psychology and she loves it. And that's what she's thinking about. So we'll see.
It gets you. It's so interesting because who doesn't want to know how people work? Like, that's we want to know how the brain functions. How, why are you doing that? Why do you do that? Like, that's...
Homeschool families. Homeschool Yo Kids Expo and Homeschool Beats Academy are teaming up to bring you a day of real support and real inspiration. Come explore curriculum and enrichment, meet trusted vendors, and connect with the homeschool community. And at our featured Expo stop, meet Homeschool Beats Academy and see how students ages 7 to 18 can create original music through beat making and production with parent-friendly guidance. Get dates and details at homeschoolyokidsexpo.com.
Everyone's biggest thing, because we can't read each other's minds. So it's like, let me learn how the mind works.
I definitely feel like it's helped me in whatever path I've ended up on. But, it's not for everyone. That's for sure. It's a high burnout field. And not that speech pathology isn't. Speech pathology is as well. Any giving service field is. But anyway.
Indeed, I know. But you're multifaceted. Because you have the dual language, which I feel all bilingual individuals are just brilliant, and y'all don't give yourselves enough credit to be able to switch between languages in the manner that y'all do. I am also a linguistic enthusiastic. I love that. That was one of my favorite college courses. So I feel you, girl. All right, so you just wound up here because you were helping everyone. You've been translating all your life. And then you said, all right, let's do this.
Yeah, I have been doing this for about, oh gosh, when I think about it, every time the calendar changes, it's going on 28 years, believe it or not.
Really?
And
Don't believe
I
it.
love it. I love it. And I actually was working for other people forever. First, because of necessity, right? We're not always able to do our own thing, but the timing came. So 2024, I kind of launched on my own completely. It's been a journey there too. And I officially launched my own company last January, SpeechFit. And it's allowed me to really pick and choose what I want to do. Although I work with school-based, a lot of homeschool students of all ages. I find that my passion lies in like the teens, preteens, teens, and high schoolers. And then in addition to that, I've noticed that a lot of kiddos that are not necessarily officially on IEPs for whatever reason, because we know IEPs are very specific to qualifications and state guidelines. I've also kind of branched into more of like a public speaking communication coaching area for folks that have a lot of public speaking anxiety, although that is a social anxiety disorder. We all know that. But I feel like speech pathologists are very well equipped to help folks that have these public speaking anxieties. I myself, I'm a recovering public speaking anxiety folk. I do a lot of speaking engagements, but I'm also working with a lot of professionals as well as teens on this. In fact, public speaking anxiety, it was interesting for me as I was doing research on this. It tends to start in the elementary school, middle school, when, students are either called on in class and they completely draw a blank. And then that becomes like a core memory. And then, of course, later on, as the years go, they're expected to do more and more presentations. And, teachers, sometimes they are very well equipped, but not all educators recognize that. I know when I was growing up, it was just expected.
Homeschool families, are you ready to refresh your plans for the year? Join us at the Homeschool Yo Kids Expo. Meet curriculum and enrichment vendors, discover new programs, and connect with a community that gets it, all in one place. Come with questions, leave with real options. Get event details and register now at homeschoolyokidsexpo.com. That's homeschoolyokidsexpo.com.
For you to perform, when you were called on. And of course, I was not homeschooled. I went to a traditional brick and mortar, but it's hard whether or not you're called on over in Zoom, over a virtual setting, or in an actual brick and mortar. It is quite serious. I mean, we need to pay more attention to that. So yeah, that's kind of been another passion that has sort of married my passion for psychology as well as communication.
Yes. Public speaking. Or just being, like you said, being called on in class. That's heavy. That's intense.
It's a lot. It really is.
And then think about, especially if you're not a strong reader, because that's mostly, when you're called on, you get asked to read something out loud or give an answer that you're not certain of, and you have all your peers staring at you. And, I taught 7th grade, I taught high schoolers, and the most critical beings, they talked about me when I was in front of the classroom. So just imagine, what they say about their peers. It's a lot. That's a lot. That's definitely something needed.
Yeah. And I remember, back in the day, I still remember it. I mean, obviously it's become like a core memory and impactful in my life. My report card always had the comment section, needs to participate more in class. She's great. She's getting A's, but this is one thing that she's lacking in. So it's just interesting and telling. And also just with the high schoolers that I work with, I've done virtual work both with brick and mortars, which is a very interesting setup. Some high school, actually there's, maybe we know, we don't know, shortages of speech pathologists. So telepractice ends up filling that gap. And so I've had both the brick and mortar telepractice virtual experience, which is very interesting when you're teleported, so to speak, using the language of our kiddos, into a classroom. You're kind of on the big monitor, and they're high schoolers, they're teens, they're checked out. Really hard to make those connections, but it's been interesting. I very much love and prefer working with my older kiddos that are virtual, that are homeschooled, because of the fact that, the parents are on board. It's not always easy. I'm not saying like it's a piece of cake for sure, but
Right.
There's just more. It's just a better fit because the puzzle pieces come together a little bit better. Everybody is on board with the whole experience. And the one thing we end up having a little harder time with is finding the right groups. Sometimes we want a group to have little social groups. So with what I do, it's more one-on-one, but I'm very open to working with groups, especially for conversation and practicing public speaking and all those good things. But yeah, so all of those things.
Nice. For our listeners who are not familiar with the field you're in, like I said, I have definitely interviewed a few speech pathologists, but can you explain what it is that your focus is?
Yeah, absolutely. So I work with actually individuals of all ages. So I personally work with kiddos as young as 18 months on up through adults. And we work with communication disorders and differences, learning differences, a lot of different things. People often equate us with playing games and working on speech sounds. So we do work with speech sounds. Folks, the way we determine that is there's standards of the ages that children should be producing their sounds. And again, we take into account, of course, different cultural linguistics. We wouldn't work on accents we wouldn't call an accent a speech disorder. Some people want to work on their accents, and that's a whole different thing. So yeah, we work on speech sounds. We work on language, both understanding of language, expression of language. With language, we would work on anything from grammar to semantics, which is, the vocabulary. Also what we call pragmatics, which is more of that social use of language. And that's where a lot of our autistic population would come in, and their neurodivergence. Some of us work with kids that are diagnosed with ADHD, kids and adults, I should say, that are diagnosed with ADHD. We help them with even executive functioning, which is basically a fancy way of saying organizing your thoughts, planning, being able to learn how to do note taking, prepping for testing, a lot of those things that educators do as well. So we sort of cross into a lot of different areas. On the medical side, not my area of specialty necessarily, but we also work with swallowing with kiddos if they have feeding issues. Such a wide, broad range of what we do. And then also for adults, it could be or children, I should say, if they've had some kind of traumatic head injury, which causes learning issues, memory issues, attention issues, we would work with that. As well as any kind of brain accident, brain injury, like a stroke or any kind of diagnosis. I mean, it's just so broad. And it's also sorry.
No worries. I was going to say, I think we even, I can't think of her name right now, but it's immersed speech. But I feel like we even talked about jaw development, because you did just say something about swallowing and things of that nature. So we even got on that. It is really wide as far as the range.
So there's also the oral motor component, where something called tongue thrust. I don't know if you're thinking of that, but a lot of dentists and orthodontists rely on us to help kind of fix the functional issues that are going on. And that's definitely an area of specialty, because otherwise the tongue, if it's still doing the old function, it could completely push the teeth into the crooked positions again. So yeah, it's just such a broad range. What I was going to say was it's impossible for one person to be the expert at all of these things. So that's why you find a lot of us specialize in certain things, and we find our little niches within speech pathology. But I know I've spoken to parents too that are new to this. They get very, they're always surprised at all of the things that it encompasses. I know I had one family that was very surprised that I was also working on things like following directions and, all these things. So yeah, it's always, our job is as much to educate the parents and the families and the individuals that work with our learners as much as the learners themselves, for sure.
Nice. And your level of expertise is what?
So I have a couple of areas. So as I was saying, it's the language, childhood language, as well as speech sound disorders. And then this executive functioning and also public speaking area. I'm finding, I think after I had my own children and they became teenagers became less scary for me. Before I became a parent, I was just terrified, even though I was working in a middle school and I did work in a high school for a short time. I feel like I started to really connect with my students and my learners once I had my own children and they became teenagers. So I feel like I have this passion for teenagers, especially the ones that have a hard time connecting socially. I have one student who basically asked me, she said, "Can you please help me with my text acronyms?" She can't understand what all of these different, she knows the basic ones, the LOL and all this, but her friends would text her and she's like, "I don't know." And I was like, well, I have to Google some of them too. So it's okay. But it just made me realize, the compensatory strategies that we take for granted, to Google it or just kind of fake it until you make it, so to speak. Yes, you have to kind of figure out a way around it, but it causes these little barriers and then they feel lonely. They can't connect, especially if they're homeschooled. So, started to really develop a heart for that.
Yeah, no, I had students who would write and put acronyms in their writings.
Oh, really?
Papers. Yes, ma'am. But I'm with her too, honey. I can't keep up with all these acronyms. I promise there's a new one every day. So
that is hilarious that they would put it in the writing, but also it makes complete sense.
Yeah, no, they do. Communication is communication. But while you were sharing, I thought back to the fact that I took speech. I was in speech for a little bit when I was a baby, though. Not a baby, but I want to say elementary, maybe first, second grade. I had tubes in my ear when I was younger. They discovered, I think I was like 5 maybe, when they figured that I couldn't hear. And so I had to do speech for a little bit. I don't remember any of it, but just with this conversation, I'm just thinking about it. That did happen. Look, that did happen.
Yeah. And that is also a very common thing. So for children that have recurring ear infections or like severe allergies, they'll develop fluid in their ears, and that like causes like a dampened hearing. And thankfully, it's not a permanent hearing loss, but it does definitely affect how they would hear sounds. So over time, that could affect their speech. And I did want to also mention, I don't know, a lot of parents don't know this. I've had to, again, remind myself that, to continue to talk about these things. Speech sound disorders may sometimes impact reading. And so if students, particular kinds of speech sound disorders, not all of them, but it is something to just kind of be hyper aware of, because if your child is not hearing all of the sounds in a word, they don't know to anticipate all of those sounds when they're reading. And so it does impact it. And once parents realize this, they start taking things more seriously. You see that they're showing up to therapy. They're not, saying, "Oops, we forgot we had something, we we went to the park instead, or people start taking it a little bit more seriously once they realize there's more to it. So.
Indeed. And that's what I was going to ask you, the correlation between literacy and speech, if there was one, or how you felt about it. I did. That was a question in my head.
That's so funny. We read your mind.
Yes, you did. Thank you. Thank you. Ahead of the game. Yes, you are. Yeah. But yeah, no, that's what I was thinking too. Literacy definitely goes hand in hand because you have to be able to hear and make the sounds. I was just going over spelling words with my youngest before we started this. And one of her words was problem. And I'm just like, problem, like sounding it out. And it's like, I'm trying to make sure I'm enunciating it the right way because it's essential for her to be able to hear it all in order to be able to spell it correctly. So definitely.
Yeah, that's the other thing, too. It does impact spelling as well. So you see it in those two areas. And those are the students who should be qualifying for the IEPs because it's affecting their academics. So that's absolutely justified. And I know there are students that hear things not only because it's like dampened hearing, but it's also the way their brain processes. So that's, a whole different thing. Auditory processing, auditory discrimination. I mean, we definitely work on it, but those students should also look at like a broader to see like if there's other learning issues. Is it learning differences? Is it a learning style or actual processing that is impacting it? Because it will definitely show up in the reading as well as the writing. There's learners who like they're just talking and there's a couple of things I've noticed, like they'll repeat the ED. For some reason, they hear an extra ED. For example, they'll say expected it. Or I don't know, I'm thinking of like a regular past tense verb. It's not coming to me at the moment, but they'll add an extra ed when they're speaking for whatever reason to these verbs. And I've seen it in more than one student, so it's interesting. Or like they'll drop off a syllable or think that the syllable is a different vowel. So it's just the way their brain is processing it, and it's just good to be aware of it. Giving them good models like you're doing for your kiddo is one way. Sometimes they need like a little bit more assistance, more strategies, and working with a speech pathologist could definitely help with that.
Indeed. It's just so much that goes into these little people, like, people in general, but definitely our little ones, in worrying about their development and making sure that they're getting all of the resources that are needed for them to reach their, their highest self. It's a lot. It is. It really is. I always tell people parenting is like the hardest job in the world. It really is. It's scary. And, it doesn't end when they turn 18. I have my youngest turned 18 2 to 3 months ago. And, she's terrified of turning 18, becoming an adult. But really? I'm like, well, it's not over yet. Yeah, it's very interesting because I wasn't like that. I couldn't wait till I grew up. And I feel like I grew up way too fast. And she just loves, she wants to stay a kid. She loved her childhood. And I don't know what we did to her, but she's like, what happened? She keeps saying, what happened to our childhood? Like, it went by too quickly. I know. And that's what, a lot of homeschooling families don't on the fact that childhood isn't that long. It's like you only have 18 years, and then the rest of the time is adulthood, and it's like, that's not favorable. Yeah, I don't like that. I know. Thankfully, we have great pictures to look upon. Thousands, tens of thousands of them that I took. Right, exactly. Oh my goodness. I have a newly 12-year-old. That's my oldest, and she always talks about going back. It's like, can you just push me back in? Can I just start over? It's so interesting how some kiddos are like that. Yeah. But
It's
this
surprising.
generation in general seems a bit different, like as far as their level of independence of what they want to do. Like you talk to a lot of these teenagers, they're not even trying to drive for real. I guess because of
Right.
Uber. I guess because of Uber and Lyft services, maybe. It's just become like a thing where it's like, oh, I'm gonna get a ride. I was driving at like 13. I had my own car at 16.
Yeah.
I was like, yo, I gotta get out of here. It's not a day.
That is funny. So it's interesting. My own kids weren't like that, but what ended up happening, which I was not happy about, is none of their friends drove. So each of them, I have two.
Were
So
the
my
designated
son is the
drivers.
older one. Yeah, they ended up driving their friends, which I was not happy about because I'm like, that means I'm responsible for everybody.
For all I know, that is
And we had to really monitor that. So yeah, it's rough. But I don't know what that is, but I definitely have seen that too. I don't know why I think my daughter followed my son's lead, but my son just was like antsy too. He's like, he wanted to drive when he was 5. He'd be in the back of the minivan and he's like, when I am 16, I'm going to take this minivan and I'm going to go, I don't know, to Disneyland. And I'm like, you're not going to want to drive this van when you're 16.
No, you're not. No, you're not. Not at all. No.
Oh
But I do, and I didn't even think about it on the level of responsibility for another child when I'm the driver being your child. Because I used to pile everybody up in my Geostorm, girl. Like, it was always supposed to have 4 people in there, but honey, we definitely made enough seats.
Yeah,
and everybody was in there.
I cringed when my daughter was going to take, I don't know which group to what location, but I was like, you do realize how many seats are in the car you're going to drive, right? you are going to make sure they're not like laying across the back seat or in the trunk.
See, you were giving whole disclaimers and like guidelines to follow. I don't know if my mom sent me out there with that. Like, I don't know, but we were just doing everything. Woo. Okay. Well, thinking back on it, like I would definitely, don't have more than 2 people in the car. Don't have more than 2 people in the car, okay? Because it's too many distractions. At least they're not in the time where you got to look for CDs to change the music or, like things that are real distraction. Because I have stories, honey. I have some stories.
Oh my goodness. I know.
Yes. I know. Development. It's all a part of life and adulthood and learning and growing. It's fun. Like, it's fun in the moment. Then like you think about it, it's like, okay, I'm gonna have to make sure I keep my eye on this or make sure I give guidelines for this because I know what I was doing.
Yeah, exactly. we know way too much.
Exactly. So do you work? I know you say you work with a lot of homeschool families. You also are in the classroom or in the schools?
No. Well, yes and no. So from my own business, I occasionally will get like temporary contracts with schools as needed. But yeah, my big bread and butter actually is working with the homeschool kiddos, whether it be through charter schools or private families who reach out to me. I have one family that I work with that actually has, I think, 3 or 4 kiddos, and I work with 3 of their kiddos.
Really?
Yeah, it's been really great because when you work with the whole family, it's just I don't know, you can integrate a lot in there's just like a rhythm. Because I know when you do work with other agencies, sometimes you end up having your kiddo working with 3 or 4 different, it doesn't always work out. And I think the parents appreciate it. I try to work, very family centered in terms of like anywhere from scheduling to giving homework assignments that are very practical and will integrate hopefully into their day. Yeah, I mean, I've been there. I know I only had 2. I could only handle 2.
Right. I have 2.
Because I was an only child growing up. So like 2 was like very big leap for me. But I also understand, it does, I've had kids, their friends over. I know how it is, the noise levels and all that. So you have to be practical if you're going to make progress. And if communication is going to improve, you have to make things make sense. And how does it make sense? By integrating it into your everyday routine. So Yeah. So I basically work with mostly homeschool kiddos. I have been doing some in-home in my area as well, the drivable in-home ones. I feel like, I don't know if any of your guests have talked about this. COVID has been interesting because we're now, can't believe it's 6 years.
Right.
But
That went by so quick.
6 years. Yeah. My daughter was the one that pointed that out. She's like, it's been 6 years. I'm like, wow.
And it seemed like last year. It still seems like last year. Yeah. That's on the other side of a decade. Like that's closer to a decade than.
That's right. And I've done this virtual speech pathology thing going on 16 years. So I started in 2010, pre-COVID. So I saw what it was like before COVID and what happened during COVID and now after COVID. And I honestly feel like for a lot of folks that are not comfortable with, again, the virtual environment, I feel like it hurt the whole industry in a lot of ways because people didn't have good experiences. And so, I try to stay flexible. It's been an adjustment for me. I try to do hybrid if it makes sense, and in person if it makes sense. I'm also trying to let families know why it would be beneficial to do some hybrid. If it doesn't mean that you have to do telepractice, it may or may not be for you. I even work with young children through telepractice, but again, it's the families sometimes are very resistant if they don't understand how it works or if they've had a bad experience. So it's kind of a bummer, but we're working through it every day.
Yes. So they don't like the virtual?
Some families don't like the virtual.
Wow.
I think whether it's because dad was on too many Zoom calls during COVID or just they can't, it all depends on family dynamics, where they're coming from, what kind of experiences and values they're bringing to it. It's hard. It's all different things. And so a lot of ways before COVID, people were a little more just, I don't want to say naive, but like they didn't have any preconceived notions for the most part. So it was easier to say, hey, this is how it is. And look at how cool it can be. And we can actually make progress. And here's some research. COVID, because it forced everybody to do it, not everybody was equipped. And so what ended up happening was some people were like, oh my gosh, yes, I'm never going back. And we saw that with students too, right? That decided to enroll in virtual homeschooling and not do brick and mortar anymore because they realized this is better for their child. But then you had the other side. It was like, no way. And if you bring it up, it's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, it's just interesting because I talk to all kinds of different families and I try to stay flexible, but I still feel like my passion lies in telepractice because that's when I got into telepractice, it was literally it was a crapshoot in the sense that I had to take a chance on it. In 2010, I wasn't sure what it was. And it was something that an opportunity came up. I had taken a few years off to raise my own children and saw a Facebook ad for a company that was doing this online speech therapy. And I said to my husband, is this a scam? What is this?
Online? They're doing this online now?
And when I applied, I was very pleasantly surprised. And again, I encourage anyone listening, if you're not sure, encourage your kids to take chances, take risks, I tell my own kids to take the path that's least traveled by. It won't always work out, but you never know. How are you going to know unless you try? So it set me on that course to go in that direction of something new and innovative. And, here I am.
Nice. No, I could see why, it goes both ways with some being like, okay, let's do it. And then some like, no, I'm over it. Like, I don't want to do it. Because technology, it's all... It can get tricky for some people.
Tricky and overwhelming.
It could be a system. I was going to say a system overload of like, okay, this isn't working. This isn't working out. But as clear. Like you're clear right now. Like your video's clear, your speech is clear. There's nothing that I'm having to question or guess about. So, I mean, it works and it is helpful because you're able to reach more. I feel like you're able to help more people.
Reach more. And if a student or child needs more frequency, it's a little easier to schedule because we're so busy. So, yeah, I mean, I feel like it does. It's an additional benefit. And I use it in my own like medical, in my own healthcare, right? Like if my doctor offers it, I would prefer to do that. I also take care of my elderly mom. It's like, I would prefer that over taking her because it's so much time, and time is so valuable, and not just time is money, but your time, you don't get that back.
Yes. It's just a lot in general, having to drive places, traffic, and all that good stuff. I have a friend who does her telehealth visits, her doctor's appointments. She has a scale like right by her front door. And I was like, what is this? Like, why do you have this scale? I said, this is a bit like, I don't even know. Like, is this bullying? But she was just like, oh no, that's she was like, that's for my telehealth appointments because my doctor always wants my weight. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, let me get with the times. Because I was like, why you got this right here?
I would decline at that point. I have a friend who taught me that. She's like, I decline when I go, I just tell them I'm not in that boat, but she, for personal reasons, doesn't want to stand on the scale. I'm like, you can do that?
Yeah, no, I don't do that. I don't stand on scales all voluntarily either. Like, why would I do that? That's crazy.
My goodness.
But my girls are learning martial arts on virtually right now. And I never thought that would be a thing. But someone reached out, said he wanted to try some things. He was starting up a kids martial art class, and my girls were the first one to be a part. And now I think he has a good 5-6 students up there now with them. And so it's like, okay, let's do it.
Amazing. I love that. That's
right.
Really cool.
He's all the way in California and we're in Arizona. So it works and they like it. He sends videos for them to practice. They got their workout routines that they practice, but every week. And he's just upped it to twice a week now that they're going to be meeting virtually on Zoom.
I love that. I should check out this person. Right? I'd love to give him a shout out. I'm in California actually too. In the Los Angeles area. Mm-hmm.
Oh, yes. Okay. So I think he's more northern. I know when we were in Rancho Cucamonga, he came and met us there. So they get to meet him in person, and he did some training with them there at my friend's house and everything. So that was cool. But I would definitely, Mr. Bennett, Coach Bennett, or Sensei Bennett. I will give you his information though, so you can.
I know I have families that would love that.
Okay, cool.
Very cool.
Yes. I love that. And he's about to go to Japan too. He's about to go to Japan. I think he's going, or he's there this week because they did not have class this week because of the trip. So that's cool too. So, but I'll pass his information to you, ma'am. I need to get him on the podcast too.
Thank you. Appreciate that.
Of course. So how long do you typically work with a family? I did have one question about the family that you were working with the 3 kids. Are you working on the same thing with those 3, or is it all different types of things that you're working on with?
Oh, good question. So yes, it is all similar. They're all similar, but they each have slightly different needs because they're different ages and they're different people. Yeah. But it is actually very similar. So that's when, you start to kind of see evidence that there's probably some kind of genetic or familial.
And that's
link.
What I was going to ask
and
next.
I do,
like, is this just are speech impediments or speech delays or any kind of speech, anything? Is it something that is normally something that is genetic or hereditary?
Yeah. So yes, absolutely. And in my case history forms that I have my parents or families fill out, there's definitely a question there that I pay attention to. Is there anything in your family? Even learning issues, again, this is not to I know how we are as parents. Like we take responsibility. We say, oh my gosh, it's my fault. That was on my side of the family. So I caused this. That's not what this is about. This is, and I almost, sometimes I regret those questions because I could see, because I've been there too, all those things that you see from your side, then you see it in your child and you're like, oh gosh. It's painful. It's hard, but it's also good to be aware of it because then there are things that can be done. One of the things that I love is the parent that is proactive. So I have some families that say, I had this, my family did this when I was younger, and look at me now. And do you think this will help my child? And I say, yes, absolutely. For the folks that are like, they'll grow out of it. I know I have some colleagues and I still see the term late talkers. And I'm like, what does that help? How does that help anybody to just sit and wait? I don't know. I guess if finances are an issue, maybe, but there's funding sources, even in this day and age where things are getting a lot of cuts and a lot of budget cuts. There's still ways around it. I'm trying to put out more educational content as well for helping families, courses they can take on strategies they can use. Sometimes it's just, as far as answering your question about how long do I work with a family, it all depends. But I do feel like if you start younger, there is less poor habits that are instilled, like for the speech sound portion. There's a window where it's too early to start for certain sounds, but the professional is the one that can tell you that, and you have to trust that professional's opinion. So there are certain ways of knowing, are they able to do it now or not? And some of it's by age, but it's also individual. It's about the kiddo and how focused they are. And sometimes they're not ready, but 2 months is a long time in the life of a child. 2 months later, they may be ready, or maybe we do something and it clicks. Like there's something that clicked with them, something they can associate. And all of a sudden now they figured it out and they know how to hear. A lot of executive functioning, that planning, that self-awareness, increasing self-awareness. This is specific to speech sounds. That helps a lot. Some kiddos take a longer time to develop those things, and it has to do with brain development and all of that. But if you just sit around and do nothing,
right?
I don't know how that's beneficial. So I do feel like early is better. I'm a big proponent of that. And there's also things that can be done, things that parents can try on their own. I don't think you can harm your kid. I know some parents are very nervous about the correction piece when it comes to speech, and I can understand that. It's tricky. That's why you've got the professional there. But once you figure out how to get them to say it, then the parent can continue and do these small things throughout the day. So typically, again, how long I work with them, if it's a young kid and we're working on language development, and you're not sure. I always say, like, give it 6 sessions to 8 sessions. Let's see how it goes. Typically 8 sessions, we're able to establish rapport and get kind of a rhythm going. And then we can talk about, do we want to continue or not? And is it working or not? And sometimes it's like we can take a break and then come back to it. I have to say speech sounds take a lot longer. So it tends to be more like 6 months to a year. Certain sounds are a lot trickier too. So yeah, I think it's harder with certain things, but it's not an overnight fix. I wish it was a magic wand, but it's not.
Yeah, no, I definitely feel you on that. Question though, because you talked about the early intervention, or I call it early intervention, but
yeah, absolutely.
The earlier the better. When should you worry? Because I have 2, of course, and we're not supposed to compare and contrast, and everyone's different. They're all individuals. However, my oldest was above and beyond, and she was talking in complete sentences by 2. my youngest had me worried because I couldn't understand anything she was saying at 3. So, but she was talking, but my oldest was playing translator for her. And she said, and I know she was making up half of it, but she was her translator for the longest. But now she talks so good, Corrine. Like she talks like an intellectual, like
wow.
Yes, it's so weird. But so when should you be concerned?
And you did not, if I may ask, you didn't have any speech intervention for the
nothing.
No, that's great. I'm so happy that everything worked out. So typically what we advise is if they're not putting 2 words together by the age of 2, so it's that 2, and not putting 3 words together by the age of 3, that's one red flag. Kids, again, there's the broad range like we talked about, and we don't want to compare. Typically at 18 months, they start putting 2 words together. And by 2, we want like 2 separate concepts. And if they're like signing, I think it's good for all families to use sign language.
Corrine. Oh my gosh, that was going to be my next thing. Like, how beneficial is the signing with the
speech? We've got some synergy here. I love it.
Yes. Go ahead.
I think a lot of parents are so nervous that if they introduce things like sign language and even devices like the AAC augmentative devices that some kiddos use, it's starting to become more common practice to introduce these things as tools for all kids, particularly kids that have trouble or they get frustrated. It just helps them regulate themselves. And honestly, like using gestures with language, like if a kiddo is pointing and saying a word, that is a really good sign. Again, we want 2 concepts by the age of 2. And hopefully there's verbalizations that are coming pretty easily. Also with pronunciation, it's really tricky. That's where you want to get an opinion, a professional opinion, because it's so hard to explain. But there's certain patterns that are normal that kids will do. For example, they'll substitute T for K. So you might hear cat might be tat. Or I'm trying to.
And we think it's so cute. We think that's so cute.
Or they'll leave off sounds like stop will be top. And I know I had a kiddo that was saying ticker for sticker, but she was already 5. So that's too late. So a lot of those things should drop off at the latest by the age of 4. So yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where if you're not sure, it's always good to get an opinion and see where, if you can get some strategies to help along the way. But hopefully that answered your question.
Yes, ma'am. It did. Thank you. Where do we find you? How do we access your services?
Yeah, absolutely. So my company is SpeechFit, and I have a website, SpeechFit SLP. I also have an Instagram, SpeechFit SLP, and I will share all of these things with you. I'm also very close to launching my Teachers Pay Teachers shop, which is going to have a lot of resources for all educators, parents, anybody that would like to get some extra ideas for how to help their kiddos. And I am locally located in the Southern California area with limited access to in-person, but definitely I actually have licenses in California, Arizona, and Texas. So
nice.
I can work with students across those 3 states at this time. So yeah, super excited to become hopefully a part of your community.
Of course. And before I let you go, 3 things you would tell families if they didn't hear anything else, take this with you.
Oh gosh, 3 things. I love it. I think be in the moment. It's so hard to kind of drop the worry of what needs to be done, whether you got to finish this homework assignment, got to cook dinner, got to clean the house. Try to be in the moment. I failed, I think, as a parent a lot of times, but there was that one time, and actually we remembered this past weekend, where my kids spilled milk across the table. And it was the worst timing. They're not going to spill milk at the best timing. Okay. And what we did is, instead of getting upset, I actually started taking pictures because I was like, look, it looks like a bear. Or they're like, oh, it looks like a bear. And I was like, what do you think it looks like? So just be in the moment. Two, try not to lose sleep over those small things. Try to enjoy your kids. I tell parents that as well. And three, just be kind to yourself. Take care of yourself, because it's so easy to burn yourself out to try to do everything. So I should have probably moved number 3 to number 1, because again, if you're not getting sleep, if you're not eating lunch, if you're not exercising and taking care of yourself, you're not going to be able to do that for your kiddos. So those 3 things I would say.
Big things. And I'm so glad you mentioned that, because you're my second year interview of this year so far. I took a break from August till now. Oh. And last year I started asking my guests, and I forgot. I did not do this on my first one. I'm sorry. But how do you self-care?
Well, that's a work in progress, to be honest with you. What I'm trying to do is not make it about the treat. Like, oh, I get, I set aside my, not to plug Massage Envy, but I guess I just did, Massage Envy membership. That's just something that I have that I treat myself to. Nice. But I'm realizing it's not about those treats. It's not about, oh, I'm going to treat myself to a coffee because, I earned it or whatever. It's about like what you're doing on a daily basis. And that shift has been harder for me. So I'm hoping, I'm not doing this perfectly, but I'm hoping to get more sleep in 2026, to fit in more walks. It doesn't have to be a 40-minute walk. It can be 15 minutes in the morning and 15 minutes in the evening. And just, making sure I eat properly, and I don't like skip the meal and then like squeeze it in between multitasking, which has been terrible habits that I've developed over the years. So work in progress.
Yes, but there's progress. So baby steps always. I thank you so much for that. Because like I said, I have all my little self-care question. Thank you. But yes, self-care is priority, not option. So we definitely work towards that.
Yes.
Reach out to Corrine for your speech pathologist needs. If you have a young learner who you feel is struggling in a manner that is not familiar with you, or you don't know what to do with it, reach out, because support is here. Remember that is what this platform is for, to remind you that this is not a journey you have to do alone. We have support everywhere. There are dedicated individuals who are working to ensure that your needs are met as far as raising these little beings that we just have been entrusted with. So don't think you have to do it all. Okay. Reach out for support, and all of her links will be available in the description. So yes. Anything else, love, before I let you go?
Well, I thank you again for having me. And it was amazing to have this conversation with you today.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that. Parents, remember, homeschool your kids.